I am the ancient breath of the Id, the mighty ruler of the blood. From the uncharted wilderness, I watch. Welcome to our explainer for today. We're going to visualize a deeply psychological, honestly pretty dark, mythological fable based on the incredible text, The Architecture of the Integrated Shadow. Imagine, just for a moment, that you are looking at the world through the eyes of the dragon, a primordial force of truth watching a fractured modern world desperately trying to escape its own emptiness. Okay, let's really dive right into this. Listen closely to the dragon's perspective. I, the ancient breath of the Id, and mighty ruler of the blood, watched from the uncharted wilderness. This omniscient view over a village of stone and steel, it isn't just a physical place, It completely represents a modern state of mind. As the dragon, we're peering deep into the souls of the inhabitants. And what we see is a society that has achieved this effortless efficiency, yet they are completely spiritually famished. Notice the progression of this village over the decades. Years ago, this village achieved what they thought was a massive triumph of rationalist supremacy. They completely dismantled the old, crumbling temple of ancestral myth. They thought throwing away these deep, guiding beliefs was freeing themselves. But actually, scratch that. It wasn't freedom at all. By destroying that foundation, they inadvertently created a profound psychic vacuum. Fast forward to the present day, and the inhabitants are physically secure, sure, but they are literally drifting across a gaping abyss of suffering without any framework to process it. Their lives have become a strange malaise, just totally stripped of any symbolic compass to guide them. So how do you even survive that kind of unbearable emptiness? This feeling of being completely detached from yourself? Well, the villagers do something pretty desperate. They forge what's known as the Golden Mask. It's this highly polished social persona. They use it to hide their deep internal shame and to conceal what is known as the ugliest man, which is basically the personification of their own rejected, darker traits lurking deep down inside. They completely sacrifice their unique human personality just to stay within the safe scaffolding of the crowd. Because they just can't reconcile their logical minds with the chaotic nature of their own souls. They become, tragically, bridges that broke. Let's actually break down how this tragedy unfolds step by step. First, the villagers experience this intense, gnawing anxiety from their internal emptiness. Second, this triggers a panicked retreat from their own minds, a regressive defense mechanism just to escape that very anxiety. Third, they merge with a collective shadow, entirely abandoning their individuality. And finally, the fourth step, they rally behind false idols of political banners and slogans. This gives them a hollow, manufactured sense of belonging to fill the void where their souls used to be. Now, the dragon, watching all of this unfold, holds up an artifact called the Mirror of Justice. And wow, the truth it reflects is, frankly, chilling. The mirror reveals that all of the crowd's supposed virtue and loud moral outrage, it's not real, not at all. They're merely shrouds for deep resentment and a desire for legal revenge against others. Through the dragon's eyes, we see that their tribalistic aggression isn't about the pursuit of truth whatsoever. It is just a desperate strike against the unresolved shadow rotting within their own hearts, which they simply project onto external enemies. But notice the narrative shift here. We have a lone soul descending into the dark night. This is our wanderer. He is incredibly weary of the strange malaise infecting the village. Instead of hiding behind a golden mask or clinging to the hollow safety of the crowd, he bravely chooses to leave it all behind. He wanders directly into the uncharted wilderness, straight into the realm of the dragon, to endure a grueling descent into the dark night of the soul. Out there in the wilderness, the wanderer is forced into a seriously brutal trial, the alchemical dance, and the dragon spirit acts as a fierce catalyst here. First, it completely shatters his golden mask. Boom, gone. Then, it forces him to do something incredibly difficult, to actually listen to the great reason of his body, the unknown sage residing deep in his blood. Through this agonizing process, he stops merely destroying old values, stops being just a breaker of tablets. Instead, he faces his chaotic nature and turns the poison of his own unworthiness into literal fuel for his transformation. So, the absolutely crucial point here is the act of saying a holy yay. By saying a holy yay to the entirety of his nature, fully accepting both his lightest virtues and his absolutely darkest flaws, the great reason helps the wanderer transition. He goes from being a hollow shell constantly looking for crowd approval into a unified subject possessing a newfound, rock-solid inner certainty. He becomes his own internal judge, no longer needing the false validation of the village. It's a real game changer. But listen, every good fable needs an antagonist, right? Enter the Pale Inquisitor. While the Wanderer has achieved genuine growth and internal sacredness down in the valley, the Pale Inquisitor watches from a desolate hillside with his twilight gaze of absolute judgment. So who exactly is this Pale Inquisitor? Well, unlike the villagers with their golden mask, the Inquisitor wears a violet mask. This mask is actually made of stolen virtues from what's called null space, which is basically an empty void of fake, completely unearned morality. He's a former pale criminal who could not own the scarlet fruit of his unintegrated dark deeds. Because he completely failed to face his own shadow, he represents the tragic failure of the age of the hero. He's fused his internal emptiness with this mask, becoming an architect of the void. And he weaponizes the mirror of justice to attack others, rather than using it to look at himself. I want to set the stage for a really tense debate here. The Inquisitor shouts down from his desolate hill, "I walk the higher path. My judgment cleanses this void, while you wallow in the chaos of the blood." He truly, deeply believes his tribalistic aggression and his constant judgment of the heroic ideal in others is a profound virtue. But in reality, he has completely sacrificed his personality to the collective shadow and entirely fled the great reason of his own blood. And this brilliantly illustrates why the Wanderer makes the choice he does. He fiercely fires right back. "Your virtue is a shroud. I listen to the great reason, turning my poison into fuel to build my internal sacredness." The Wanderer perfectly exposes the Inquisitor as a mere judge of ghosts, a stranger to the true self who ran away from his own truth. The Wanderer chooses internal sacredness because he realizes, for sure, that the hollow safety of the crowd requires completely sacrificing the truth of who you really are. Following this huge triumph over the Inquisitor's false virtue, we finally reach the dawn of the Age of the Hero. The Wanderer returns to the village of Stone and Steel. But, importantly, he doesn't return to put a golden mask back on. No way. He returns as an architect of his own meaning, a living blueprint. He walks right past the crowds, completely ignoring the false idols and political slogans that still hypnotize the spiritually famished villagers. Now, what's really vital to take away from this path, the path of the dreamer who refuses to sleep, is what the Wanderer actually teaches. He teaches that true treasure isn't found by chasing the crowd. You have to ignore external idols. You must internalize the creative function in the face of the void. Where heroes once perished chasing external validation, the Wanderer proves that you absolutely must cultivate internal sacredness. The great noon of revelation isn't found in rebuilding old, crumbling stone temples. It is found by carrying your own sun within you and courageously authoring your own story. Which brings us right back to you. A final question, straight from the ancient breath of the id itself. I ask you, will you remain hidden behind your golden mask, drifting over the abyss with the rest of the crowd? Or will you face the dragon, listen to the great reason pulsing in your blood, and become the architect of your own meaning? The dawn of the Age of the Hero is waiting for those dreamers who finally refuse to sleep. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible descent, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.